Welcome in to ACC Baseball, etc., presented by Pitch Logic. I'm Darren Vaught. Danny Graves is here as usual. We've got a special guest that I'll introduce here in just a second. But first, as I mentioned, we're presented by Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and all the features used at the highest level. See pitchlogic.com for more info. Gravy, we get to talk with a bona fide champion today. I'm really excited about it. It's good of him to drop by the show. I'm, of course, talking about, if you're watching on YouTube, but for podcast listeners, we'll do the whole introduction. Texas Rangers reliever, World Series champion, Josh Sborz. And for those of you who don't know, Josh, a former member of Virginia's baseball program, the most outstanding player during the 2015 College World Series run by the Cavaliers. So we've got some very ACC-specific things to catch up on as well. First and foremost, Josh, appreciate the time. Hope you're doing well. Hope the off-season is treating you well.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
So let me start with the most recent thing. Obviously, winning a World Series, pretty big deal, dream come true type stuff. Not only did you get to experience this with the Texas Rangers, it's even more unique to me, and I'm struck by just sort of trying to imagine being in someone's shoes who was on the mound for the very final out. Did you black out? Can you begin to describe, okay, what was going through your mind? As it got later in the game, were you even processing like, I could throw the last out of this thing?
Yeah. So, going into the ninth, I was not prepared to finish the inning because our closer had pitched every single game, right, that we had won. So I was like, we got to give him this moment, right? He's deserved it, pitched well. So I wasn't really prepared, I guess, to finish. But, when I finished the eighth inning, they're like, hey, you're going to go back out. And I was like, okay, wasn't expecting that. That's fine. Let's gather our thoughts, because I don't usually celebrate walking off the mound, right, until I know my day's done. And I did. So I was like, crap. Sorry.
You're good.
I got to run this back and, lock it back in. And so first guy got him out. Didn't see Boach coming, so I was like, okay, let's keep going. And Carroll, 2 pitches, didn't come out, and then there's 2 outs. I'm like, oh, here we go. The final guy. It definitely started creeping in for sure. I think once I got the first guy, no movement from the dugout, I was like, okay, I'm going to finish this game now, unless I, get in trouble. And sure enough, finish the game, and it still hasn't set in totally, the moment, the whole series in general. But just greatly honored, and what a ride.
Yeah, what a ride it was. The way that you guys were a completely different team throughout the whole postseason. Not even losing a game on the road. That's insane. But speaking of your finishing the game, I think that's every pitcher's dream, to finish a World Series game.
For sure.
Before this game even happened, did you ever in your mind think, what would my celebration be? What would I do if I threw the last out? Am I throwing the glove up? Am I doing, what did you ever think about what to do?
Not once. If you watch the video, I instinctively did a fist pump, but I was like, that's not good enough in the moment. So the first thing I could think of was when the Nats won in 19, Hudson spiked his glove, and I was like, let's do that. And spike the glove and then run to the catcher. But yeah, there was no pre-planned celebration. You can't look too far forward in baseball, because the hitters will eat you up.
Yeah. It's probably better that you didn't have it planned. It just happened.
Yeah, raw emotion. I think it came out better than if it were to be planned,
Yeah, you and Gravy being relievers, you guys are particularly good, I think, at raw emotion, right? You guys are just like a different breed. So part of the show today is just going to let letting you two kind of vibe together, knowing that you're on the same wavelength in that way.
You got to be a little bit crazy to do what we do.
Yeah, a little bit different, but just the reaction that you had, like you just looked like you were just mean but happy and like nobody's touching me. It was pretty emotional to watch, man. And I didn't even know you, so like it was definitely really cool to see.
I was just super excited that I didn't have to throw another baseball the rest of the
season. Were you gassed? Like, I mean, because you pitched a lot in the postseason.
I mean, yeah, I was definitely wearing down. I think after the game, my wife asked me, "Was like, were you okay?" Saw on the radar gun you hit 94, and I was like, "Don't worry, I saw it too." And I was pretty nervous too.
So what were you normally throwing?
I mean, 6 to 8. I think most of the postseason for sure. When I saw that 94 creep in, it was a little scared. More curveballs.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it was still sharp. It was still good. It was a good 94. It wasn't like a it wasn't life. 88.
Yeah, so. Good life.
Yeah. And so I know you closed at Virginia, but in the big leagues, so you had one career save going into the World Series. And now you have a World Series save.
Yeah.
Like obviously that trumps every other save in your life, right?
Yeah, not even close. In college, I didn't get to finish out the World Series. So I haven't really had too many saves since college, right? And being able to finish, I guess it never crept in my mind that it was a save, that I came in and it was a 1-0 game. Because, I finished, it was 5-0. And let me tell you, those 4 extra runs we got really loosened me up a little bit, because that eighth inning was pretty nerve-wracking. It felt like it was an hour experience when it was only, 15 minutes max. But just, it's cool how the moment was able to slow down and just experience it all.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you jump in here soon, Daron. Don't worry. I get geeked out sometimes. So, I was covering you guys, covering the World Series for another media outlet, but like we all knew that if Texas was leading late in the game, it was you, Chapman, and Leclerc every time. And then it became, in our minds, really just you and Leclerc. Chapman would come in, for the lefties, but I know he ended up doing the job, but I think the nerves, it made people nervous when he was coming in. But you and Leclerc coming in were lights out. Like, did you feel that confidence that everybody else had in you going out?
Yeah, I think, I guess just kind of a recap of this entire year. Beginning of the year, I was really good, right? I was pretty locked in, good command, good stuff. And then when I got hurt and I came back, I just didn't have the stuff, right, to get outs in this league. And so, it was frustrating because usually my issues stem from lack of command, right? And stuff's always been there. And so I was in a weird mind state of, how do I get my stuff back, right? And so I think when I got off the IL the second time against Seattle to clinch, I threw the first game, we were down by 8, punched the side out, and immediately I was like, oh, I'm back. I got my stuff back finally. Let's roll. And I think the coaches saw that too, because the next game we were up by, I think, 3 or 4 in the 5th inning. He put me in, bases loaded, 1 out, right? So I knew the trust was there immediately. And, for me, just getting it back, I wanted to prove myself again that, I did this good beginning of the year wasn't all by luck. It was by effort and, being willing to pitch these moments.
And health.
Yeah, and health. And I think that was something. I don't like being on the sideline. I don't have patience for that. So, having some self-awareness that, hey, you might not help this team out by pitching right now.
Yeah.
Just being more self-aware of, I guess, it's not being selfless. It's just, you only hurt the team and you can end up hurting yourself. And that's what I ended up doing. But, I had confidence from the beginning. You don't survive in this league, really, in professional sports in general, if you don't have confidence in yourself. You got to be a dog out there. You got to be a killer at all times, because every sport will eat you up if you give it a moment. You give in to the anxiety, I guess, of it, and just you got to go out and be a dog every day.
Josh, I wrote down one question because I wanted to make sure that I asked it about your World Series team. Gravy and I talk about music sort of incidentally a lot on this show. At one point, he described a Poison concert with a bunch of his old Cincinnati Reds teammates, stuff like that, right? So it just comes up, and it's part of it. How did the Creed thing happen? Because that that was like a big time rallying cry for you guys.
Yeah, long season, a lot of monotony, right? Just everything becomes the same to you, and I think we were on a 9-game losing streak. It didn't matter how we played, we were losing, and we were just trying to figure out how to break that streak, and turned on Creed, and then we rattled off 6-7 wins. So we're like, we need to stick with this, keep going. And then it just kind of started encapsulating the whole organization. Then they started playing it at the stadium. Sure enough, Creed shows up at one of our games. It just kind of came naturally, I guess. Somebody played it, we won, and we're like, well, can't change it now. It's a long season, and we tend to pick certain songs, right? We have after we win, we play the same 3 songs. And
what are they?
Just be an EDM song, a Latin song, and then Dick Down in Dallas.
I can't say I've heard that, but I'm going to definitely look it up.
It's a very appropriate song.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. The title explains itself, but yeah. And then Creed came along. I think Creed has ran its course. We're going to have to find a new pregame song, but hopefully we find one naturally again. I think I give credit to Heaney on that one.
Yeah,
I think he started the trend. So naturally.
Did it begin as like sort of an ironic song to play, like, because the drill, like Nickelback is sort of, they have their defenders now, but there was a time when it was cool to bang on Nickelback. And I think the same was true for Creed for a little while. But like, look, man, you and I, Josh, are similar in age. Like, I remember being a kid when Creed first came on, and you're just like, man, they were awesome, right?
Yeah.
It's like what was cool then is cycling back through and being cool again. So like, was there some irony with the original selection of, you know what, let's play Creed?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we have guys like Evan Carter who were being born, when they were popular. That's the sickening part about some of these ages. I think we just wanted to get a throwback, and I still don't know how it came to be a thing, but it just happened.
I'm really like feeling a lot older now because we actually partied with Creed. Well, actually, when Scott Stapp left and they became Alter Bridge, that we partied with those guys, and because we used to go to the concerts, one of the other concerts we went to, and now you guys are talking about when you were kids, how you just loved Creed.
Danny, I was like in middle school, for lack of a better way to put that there.
Yeah, well, I just looked up how old Josh was, and born in 1993, so I was a sophomore in college. So, there we go.
Don't worry, my siblings are a lot older, so I was always on the forefront of new music, I guess, as a really young kid.
Nice.
Yeah,
go.
But you're probably the coolest sibling now with this World Series ring.
Yeah, I try to keep it competitive amongst the siblings, but I like to win, so.
Well, yeah,
I'm doing my part.
Yeah. I don't think you need to say anything else. Just hold up your hand once you get that ring. So who's the guy in the bullpen that kind of you look up to, or is there a guy in the bullpen that you kind of just hung out with a lot more than others?
I think just overall, Will Smith was the team leader.
Yeah.
Obviously the guy can't lose. Guy just wins the championship every year at this point. Probably boring for him.
Yeah.
He always just was able to keep the bullpen loose. You know, if your head was getting big, he would pop that real quick, pick you up. I think he was a big part of, you know, we had a lot of ups and downs in the bullpen, but, you know, he kind of always tried to keep us even, right? And that's what you want out of a guy that has experience, is someone that's going to control it, keep us in the right mindset at all times. You know, and he wasn't afraid to let you know either. Like, he was, you know, brutally honest, and I think that's why everyone loved Will, and I think that's why he's always on winning teams, right? Because they want that type of personality on their team. They want someone that wants to win, not afraid to tell you what they think, and just being a winner. You know, I think if you saw how our clubhouse was before games, like Corey joked about it during his interview, cards, but like, I mean, that was the most competitive team I've ever seen. Everything we did, cards, ping pong, the little hoop on the wall, we were always just kind of bickering, challenging each other. And I think that's why we never really broke in big moments, was we were just conditioned, you know, be competitive.
Yeah, well, you could tell that at the end of the season when you guys end up not winning the division, but then you just turned into a completely different team for the postseason. That was pretty amazing.
I think losing the division was a big part of why we won, because instead of a 2-hour flight from Seattle, 5 days off, we had a 6-hour flight from Seattle to Tampa, where everybody was pissed. You know, we were all just kind of simmering in our feelings and feeling it. And I think, you know, we wanted to right the ship, you know, let people know that we were the best team in the division. We just, you know, we gave it away. We lost it. You know, it wasn't, Houston's obviously an amazing team, but it was in our destiny to control what we wanted, and we ended up losing it. And I think that's what fueled us.
You played for a guy who is like a baseball legend this year in Bruce Bochy. And I coming into speaking with you, I was like, okay, I want to get his thoughts on Bochy. But I told you before we started recording that Coach Oak at Virginia is one of our favorites here. And this is an ACC baseball podcast, so it feels right that we talk about him too. So here's how I'm going to ask you. There are commonalities when you brush shoulders with people who experience success, right? Like there's not one universal formula, but there are similarities to the formulas that work. In playing for both, what can you observe about what is similar about Bruce Bochy and Brian O'Connor?
Both very calm. Like, very rarely you see him explode, right? I think I saw them both explode. You know, it's going to happen. Sports is going to make you angry. He has that calming effect, and then as a pitcher, as a reliever especially, both guys, you never knew what they wanted from you, in the sense of, would I go in the third inning, ninth inning? So they just, to me, they always saw the game a little differently. And the way they deploy their bullpens in both scenarios is, I think it's why we won. On the pitching side, obviously our offenses were both really good, but we sorry, I lost my thought. They just know how to work the game. They see it differently. And, you know, I think that's what helped me work with Bochwell is, you know, you're just always ready. You can't turn it off. It doesn't become about matchups. It becomes about, you know, what's the biggest moment of the game? We're going to win that moment. And, you know, I think it's just, they see the game differently, and that's why they win. You know, they're obviously competitors. You don't make it that far, be that good if you don't compete, but, you know, it's just they're wizards at their own art of coaching.
Yeah,
that's amazing. The calmness of both of them, and I absolutely agree with you on that. You watch these guys, and they get in certain situations, and it doesn't faze them, so it kind of relaxes you as a player, right? So you played for two really good managers, man. That's amazing.
Well, Josh, what are their main differences?
Main differences. Ooh.
One's got a giant head and one doesn't. I'll say it, Josh. You don't have to say that.
Hey, big size difference overall for sure.
Yeah.
Shoot, I don't got anything bad to say about him.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be anything bad. Just,
I don't have anything like drastic, I guess.
Yeah.
So does one use more foul language than the other?
I mean, I've seen Oak get pretty angry. I mean,
Wow.
me personally.
Oh, I can't picture Oak saying a bad word, but I'm sure he does.
And, it's generally you deserve it, right? Usually when Oak would get mad, right, it'd be more based on he expected more out of you. And I think he was always honest with who you are as a person, how talented you are, and he always, wanted you to meet expectations of, if you're the best pitcher, be the best pitcher. That's all we want. We don't want you to lollygag around, act that way. We want you to be that guy. And he always gets that out of people. Just bringing out the best. Again, that's another thing that they both have. Just, at the right times, right moments, he trusts guys, and that's why we believe in him.
What was it about the road success with this Rangers team? Can you even begin to point to something specific?
I think it was, our goal was, I think we won every single game we scored first, right? And I think our goal as a team was to see how fast we could shut out the opposing team's fans. How fast can we quiet them? And I mean, shoot, it seemed like we scored the first 2 innings quite often, right?
Yeah.
And I think we found joy in just suffocating teams at their own park by taking the fans out of it. But I don't know. I think we kept, every moment small. We never made it the picture too big. Like we had to go into Houston to win 4 times. I think if you look at that as a big picture, you're like, oh, we can't do that. But, you take it game by game, you can manage that. And so I think just a culmination of multiple things, Bochy using starters differently, relievers differently is why, there's definitely more reasons. But my viewpoint, that's what it felt like. It just felt like when I came in, the crowd wasn't there most of the time, and taking the crowd out of a game can do a lot, to an opposing team. So I think shutting them out, just making it hard for the other team to feel like they have a chance.
So tell us a little bit about Mike Maddox. I go way back with Mike Maddox, and I'll tell you a story about him later, but I want to hear what your take on him and how he has helped you with your success.
Yeah.
At this level.
Hey, we're talking about a guy that used vulgar language. Maddox is up there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think it's his personality, and I enjoy it. That's kind of where I grew up in. Just, use words you want to use. But I think he helped me a lot this year. A lot of it was just, sometimes you get lost in numbers, right? There's just so much data out there. And, sometimes I'd kind of get lost in the sauce, right? I know I have good stuff, but sometimes you chase that dragon too much and it just kind of swallows you. You get mad, you give up a hit, and you're like, oh, it's because vertical break on my heater wasn't too good. Whereas, did you execute the pitch? Did you put it in the right location? Mm-hmm. Did you set them up? And I think it was just more of a oversimplification for me of pitching.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you have really good catchers. You have good scouting. You have good stuff. Just, I want you to execute that pitch where he, wants it. And I think when I started making the moment smaller, didn't overthink like, oh, I need to get this, I need to get my hand behind it perfectly. It just became pitching again, like in high school, college, where you're not worried about how hard you throw. Maybe now you might be worried about how hard you throw. Everyone cares about that. Backspinning the ball perfectly, taking those other things out that don't really matter, and just compete and execute the pitch. Definitely more of an old school take for sure on baseball. And just kind of combining that with my knowledge of pitching on the data side, I think it helped tremendously. I think barring injuries, I would have had a really good year.
Well, yeah, you got plenty of good years to come still, Josh. So don't worry about what happened earlier this year. You got your World Series ring.
Was that a pretty good explanation of Maddox since you go way back?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, yes, to me, he's always been a great pitching coach, but I feel like he's dumbed it down for us. You know, you said simplify. I say dumb it down because sometimes we need to just be reminded that it's just throwing the baseball where you need to throw it.
Good filter. I'd give him a good filter or funnel is what he does. You know, he takes in all these ideas and then he just minimizes it to the important stuff.
Right. So I go way back with him. In 2000, I faced him when he was pitching, and I got my first career big league hit off of him. And it just happened to be a home run. So when you talk to him,
I will be sure to let him know.
Yeah. And he remembers because every time I speak to somebody that knows him, I remind them to remind him. So
he'll probably have some choice words for you
every time.
He doesn't seem to forget anything either.
I know.
You know, so he'll probably remember the pitch. It's probably an 84-mile-an-hour heater sinker
that stayed up. It was actually probably 88. I think it was a little harder than 84. At least that's
earlier in his career.
Well, it was in Houston and the roof was open, so maybe it had a little bit of a breeze. I don't know.
Did you hit the left field?
Crawford
Short
boxes,
porch?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't hit it over?
Well, my second one I hit it over the Crawford boxes, but my first one I hit it right into like the third row.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you pimp it at all?
No, because I didn't know what was happening.
Okay.
I just knew I hit it and I just started running.
I have one dream is to get in a bat where I'm allowed to swing. I'm 0 for 2 against position players. And both times manager told me you're not going to swing the bat.
No way.
Happened this year. Dolis was 4 for 4 with 3 home runs. So he was behind me and he didn't want me to roll into a double play. So I walked up and I told the catcher, "Hey, I'm not swinging. Just don't hit me, please." And I just put my bat on my shoulder and didn't move.
Oh my God. So why were you hitting? Like, how did that come about?
I think we were obviously beating the crap out of the team. And I think we pulled the starting catcher. So we lost our DH. So they flip-flopped.
So how did you get chosen to be that guy?
Just happened to be pitching.
Okay.
Twice.
Okay.
Nice.
I mean, you want to talk about the one opportunity I would get to hit a home run, it'd be those 2 moments.
Well, it could happen again, obviously, then.
I pray. I've gotten one almost every year, once a year. So
now
to get it again.
You tell Boch, hey, I closed out the World Series last year, so let me swing at least once.
I mean, our team won the Silver Slugger Award, so I'm expecting a trophy for my contributions to the team.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, so Josh, when was the last time you weren't just a PO? I'm trying. When would you have last actually hit consistently?
Before college, I was hitting the first probably 3 or 4 weeks at UVA, and then I got the, "Hey, you're not going to hit anymore" conversation. Spent a lot of time hitting. I thought I was a pretty good hitter. So it was pretty frustrating to give up.
Sure.
But hey, it worked out, you know. I think it worked out for the better.
Well, I didn't even get that conversation going to school. I didn't even get a chance to pick up a bat. They just automatically said you're not.
I was always the honorary pitcher that got to hit during scrimmages. And then they thought it'd be a good idea to try to put me in right field. Missed the fly ball, and that really ended that real quick.
Oh, I love it.
Well, okay, let's since we're talking about UVA times now, let's revisit 2015 and sort of reminisce with you if we can. What sticks out in your mind about that run to and winning the College World Series with that group?
I mean, first of all, I don't think we were supposed to be there. I think my 3 years there, that was not talent-wise, but just kind of outcome of results, I guess. We just weren't as good as the other teams that I'd been on. We needed a lot to go right. We had a lot of injuries. And I think the difference between the beginning of that year and us winning was the super talented first year freshmen we had, like Pavin Smith, Hazley. I think those guys were able to get those at bats up, get full year of work in, and then come playoff times, they were ready. Obviously, they were first rounders 2 years later, but I just think that development that our team had overall was why we won. And then we had some dudes just really step up. I mean, I think I won the most outstanding player, but what Waddell did, he's pitching every third day, it felt like 6-7 innings. Heasley, pitching 6 innings, game 2 of the World Series. Just those little things, those moments where guys just stepped up and did their job. Like I said, we didn't belong there, and I think we just had so much fun winning and just being relaxed. I think we knew we were the underdogs in most games, and we had some experience the year before from getting there and losing the championship, and we just had fun as a team. I think my one memory of that team was, it got to the point where we got swept by Louisville, and I think we were just so upset that we weren't meeting expectations that we're like, let's just change the personality of who we are. Like, we're not these tough, mean dudes. We're just these happy, go lucky guys, and let's just act that way and let's turn it onto the field and win. And sure enough, that's what we did.
So that came after you mentioned the other teams that you guys had with relatively high expectations. You, correct me if I'm wrong, you started a College World Series game as a freshman, right?
Sophomore.
So you went into that year with some experience already, right? Like,
yeah.
How did that help your performance individually, right? Because I mean, you ended up with 3 wins in Omaha.
I think I was able to experience failure at the biggest level, right, at that time for me. I pitched well in the Super Regionals, pitched well my first game in the World Series of the tournament, and then I think I pitched game 3. The moment just ate me up. I think I only pitched an inning or 2. I started that game, so I was really upset. Obviously I was mad at Oak for taking me out, right? But I think he knew that I wasn't prepared for the moment, and I think in sports you got to experience failure. You got to learn to adapt to it. You got to adjust, and I think following that, the next year, I just wasn't afraid of anything. I think I was going to go out. I was going to do everything at the best of my ability, and if I failed, so be it. I could live with myself, right? I think we're so afraid to fail that we end up just kind of creating that doubt in your head, and that only makes your experience worse. And so, I think I just took the approach of, if I fail, I'm going to fail doing the best I can at the longest time I can. And so that's kind of been my approach in baseball since then, was just go out. If you're going to suck being good. Suck throwing as hard as you can, throwing your best stuff. Don't be afraid of who you're facing. Because that Vanderbilt team, I think, had 14 first rounders. It felt like.
Yeah. Was that the year Swanson was 1 overall?
He went 1-1.
Yeah.
They had Fulmer. They had Bueller. And then the following 2 years, they had a bunch of first rounders too.
Yeah.
Super talented team. So it's just, don't be afraid to fail. Keep it simple. You don't need to complicate sports. I think the simpler it is, the better.
Did you ever want to be a starter once you got into pro ball, or was it just always?
I started for a year. I had a really good 1 year of starting. Second year, I got hurt, and then I got drafted by LA, and they were kind of like, "Hey, you're never going to make the starting rotation here, so you should probably go to the pen." And they were honest, right? And I think they had Kershaw, Julio. They had Bueller coming up, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin. So they were just immensely deep in regards to starters. So they're like, "Hey, your best opportunity is to be a reliever." And so I was like, I wish I could still start. I think getting 5 days off is kind of nice. Just in the stress of things, being in the pen, you don't really get a day unless you're totally down. So, we play 162 games, you're probably up for 155 of them. And so there's always just that daily anxiety you have. I think that's what makes being a reliever so hard, is just every single day you're available.
Well, you didn't make it look hard, Josh. I mean, at the most crucial time of the season, I think I'm not a pitching guy, pitching coach, whatever you want to call it, guru, but you look like this is your bread and butter here. Like you have the mentality of a reliever.
Yeah. To say that I wasn't nervous is an absolute lie. I think for me, it felt like the beginning of the season, every series we played, like that first game I pitched was when my anxiety was the highest, I guess. And then after that, I was like, "Oh, this is fine." And then the World Series comes, and I'm accustomed to pitching the second game, and I didn't pitch, so I had 8 days off, and so I come in and I'm feeling it, and I think just. Obviously, with the pitch clock, it helps you because you don't have time to think. You got to go get on the mound, pitch.
Right.
But once I got those first couple of throws, first of every series, it felt good. And then, sure enough, Game 5, pitch the 8th inning. It's in my head like, "Hey, I'm 1 out away. We're 2 outs away, 3 outs away," and it was really creeping in my head. Just like, "Oh, don't 1-run game, World Series. You don't want to be that guy." And obviously, Texas, the Rangers in 11 against the Cardinals, similar stuff. Had a 3-1 lead and they blew it. And I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. I don't want to be remembered for that. And then the 9th inning comes and we scored 4 runs, and way different game. Changed the whole outlook for me.
Yeah.
Well,
the second, I think, just in my experience, when you don't feel nervous or anxious, it's time to shut it down.
Yeah, I think when I'm not anxious or nervous about baseball, I need to quit. Yeah, because it's not for me then. The love is gone.
Exactly.
I chase that. I like that feeling you get from being nervous. I love that. I think it's the best sensation that I've experienced, I guess, emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm struck, at heart.
I'm struck, Josh, by what you said about Texas and its World Series history in particular. It's interesting to me that you would, in the moment, be that conscious of these fans who saw that happen in 2011 have dealt with this before, and that is further motivation for me not to blow this.
I'd been here for 3 years, right? So I experienced 103 loss team. I think we lost 96 games the following year. So I know some of the feelings that the fans had of just kind of, we're a bad team. They've struggled for years. We've never won, and we just kind of wanted to bring that. We knew how good our team was. Immensely deep.
Yeah.
We were missing DeGrom. Scherzer was hurt. You look at our team, it's like Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer. we knew had the talent. Yeah, I remember watching those games and just remembering, like, you know, the facial expressions of those guys, and just wanted to right ship, wanted to, you know, bring them joy, because they were almost there.
When you and maybe Texas was your first opportunity to sort of take this approach, because I don't know, things are still so new. Like, being a big leaguer is still so new when you're with your first team, like you were with the Dodgers. Was that something that was like a conscious decision when you joined the Rangers to sort of embrace the community and the fan base and get entrenched in it in that way? Like, how, because I'm sure there are plenty of guys who don't think at all about it, and they go from team to team, and they're playing the same way. Sure, they embrace the community to a certain degree, like, you know, the fans that are cheering for them. But in terms of just kind of like approaching it differently, because it is a different fan base and it's got its own identity, which sometimes includes recent or long ago heartbreak in certain scenarios. I'm just curious, like, how cerebral were you about that when you joined a new team?
Let's see, we moved here, we played one season here. We were like, we love it here, love the people. Love the taxes. It's just, I think the people here are just happy. Just generally in Texas, you know, it's just a different breed. They care about being happy, and that's really all we're looking for. We didn't really want to be in a stressful environment for our kids and for us, but you know, I've always tried to do my part, I guess, in helping our fan base and our community. But yeah, I mean, I think Texas as overall, like, sports matters here. Mm-hmm. Winning matters. You know, you look at the high school stadiums they have here for sports, and it's different. You know, everything is bigger here. So yeah, just trying to bring something for them, because, you know, I think as a community it's competitive, and so bringing something home. Obviously, we've had recent success with other sports teams. And just winning, I guess, you know, and making them happy, let them celebrate, you know, give them something to root for. You know, if they're down, they have a sports team to look for, and, you know, bring their hopes up and enjoyment. And so just trying to be a good person, set a good example for kids, people. And, you know, I just want to be known as a good person. That's really my end goal of life, is when they talk about me, oh, he was a good person, he cared. And I think that's been my approach since I left LA. I tried to be the same there, but like you said, you know, when you're on your first team, you're a rookie. You don't get to express yourself as much, I guess. You're just trying to survive.
Be seen, you know, and not heard.
Yes. And when I was in LA, I did my part of being there, doing my job, and, you know, just whatever role I had, I tried to do the fullest.
Well, Josh, in what way? I'm sure you know the shower shoes Bull Durham reference, right? So it's like, you're in LA, you're, whether proverbially or literally, you're keeping your shower shoes clean and that sort of thing. And as a member of these Texas Rangers, now with a little bit of cachet and credibility, with, you know, more of a career behind you, especially now with a World Series ring, like, what's the I'm not trying to get you to point out anything gross about your daily routine or whatever, but, like, what's the fungus on your shower shoes that now is like, oh, Sborz has character, whereas before it might have been looked at as, hey, that's kind of sloppy, rookie.
I think you could look at the facial hair that I was rolling with the postseason.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of just given myself, I've gotten Marv from the Home Alone, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then if you guys remember, I think it's the rookie with the kid that plays for the Cubs.
Yep. Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year. The guy with the chops. I got that.
The one who's like licking his lips at the little floater at the end.
The seed, no. The pitching coach for the Cubs. The guy that throws seeds.
It's same actor, right? Yeah. Is that what's that guy's? Anyways, yeah. I get it. Okay, nice. That's good.
I gave myself General Sborz of the Civil War. Was kind of the look I had. I was about over it from the beginning. Started off, I was like, "Oh, we're winning, can't shave it." And 28 days later, that's the best bolt I got for facial hair. So, yeah, I mean, if we do it again next year, I'll grow it back, but hopefully it's a little more fuller.
The facial hair and creed is coming back opening day.
Hey, we're saving for the postseason. That beard's not coming out. It's terrible.
That's the playoff beard. Come on.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got. I did it in college. I did the same thing I didn't touch my hair. So a month and a half, it was pretty gross. I think one thing I do remember were comments about how bad I looked with my hat on because I had hair kind of creeping over my ears.
Yeah, it just pushes it down and yep.
But yeah, I don't really have, I changed my underwear. I had nothing kind of hygienically I didn't do. I like to be clean. I mean, I did wear the same shirt on the road almost every game. So once I saw that we kept winning, I was like, can't change that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of superstition rolling around in the Sborz household for everybody. Even my wife and kids were wearing the same stuff, eating the same food.
Yeah. It's going to be that way until you retire, dude.
It doesn't impact the game, but it feels right.
Just play along. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Josh, man, before we let you go again with the ACC tilt of the show, I want to ask one more UVA question. You mentioned your wife. You met her at the University of Virginia, so I imagine you've got a lot of things to choose from. And maybe I just gave it away that will be your answer. What was your favorite thing about being at UVA and playing baseball at UVA?
One, being away from my parents. Obviously meeting my wife, that was definitely probably the biggest moment, but just the friendships you make there. It's like it's your first time you're an adult, right? So you get to experience things on your own. You don't have to ask anybody. But I think just growing up in those 3 years, somebody asked that the other day about, what did UVA do to you? And I was like, it just turned me into a good human. One, made me a good person and made me know that you got to work for the things that you want. And obviously I had to work for my wife. And, I want this known though. She's a better athlete than I am.
Soccer star. Yeah.
Four-time All-American.
Oh, nice.
She doesn't like to brag, but I do all the bragging for her. But yeah, the friendships, I'm still pretty close to Oak. Not super close anymore, but we still talk to Kuhn when he was there. He was at the World Series game. So just the friendships we made there, the experiences, the hangovers.
So are your kids old enough to play sports yet?
No, he's 2. He's a righty thrower, lefty hitter. So Corey Seager body build hopefully.
All right. What if there's a David Beckham in there? Has she got any say in that?
Yeah. He can play whatever sport he wants. With these NIL deals happening these days. Hopefully quarterback set you up for the rest of your life, play for 3 years. But no, I'm not going to force anything on him. I hope that he naturally loves whatever he does. And, I don't want to be that helicopter parent that doesn't let him decide.
Right.
But, I guess one more thing about Virginia, just winning, just being a winner. I think, that's something that, if your school has pride, being good at what you do, and I think UVA does have that, being prideful.
Yeah, I imagine you keep pretty good tabs on the program, like you're checking.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, our football team's not great, so the fall isn't the most fun time for us. But basketball, baseball, soccer. We still, when I can watch the baseball games, I watch them. We actually watch probably more of the soccer games because it's the off season for us.
Yeah.
And then basketball, we obviously, as good as they've been, we watch a lot of that. I'm hoping we have a good turnaround this year for them.
Nice.
Win something.
Yeah. Right on, man. All right, Josh. Well, we have reached our minute mark here of our time. We know you got to get the son to an appointment, so we'll let you go do that. Can't thank you enough for the time. Congrats again on the World Series championship. Try to get that fully processed sometime in the next month
probably
or two,
20
right?
years. 20 years probably.
Yeah, you got a few months before you do it again. So,
Shoot, yeah, that was another thing. The only disadvantage of winning is you don't really have time. You have zero time whatsoever. But yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on. It was fun, and yeah, go Hoos.
Nice. Right on. Thanks,
Appreciate it, Josh.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Man, that's really cool stuff. Appreciate Josh's time.
Dude, he's like one of 20, I think, that players that have won College World Series and Major League Baseball World Series.
So that's, I think, right.
20 or 21,
round about 20.
Yeah.
I also am in awe of the list that he's on as well, Danny, where Josh is obviously a College World Series champion, but he's the most outstanding player for that tournament. And then is the guy who finished out the Big League World Series. Like, I'm pretty sure he's the only guy on the planet who can say both of those things simultaneously, which is just like awesome to me. If you can make yourself one of one in any way in life, like that's you're done. You're like, you just like, cool. Like, you can kick your feet up.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, as a pitcher, and probably 95% of pitchers would say that they dream about being on the mound when winning a World Series in Big League Baseball. And I mean, he got to do that, be on the mound in the big leagues, not in college, but he still won a championship in college. And just, it's been like, what a ride for him, man. That's so amazing.
Yeah. What a ride. What a ride.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
That's who's the former equipment manager?
Chris Moore. Chris Moore.
Yeah. We owe a big thanks to Chris Moore for helping hook that up and getting Josh on with this post World Series run. So cool. A lot of fun. Let's close it out. Let's do Hall of Name.
Yeah.
For those unfamiliar, this is the part of the show where Danny, the former Miami and Big League closer, closes out the show by giving us a glimpse into his collegiate and or major league career, something that I cannot speak to, and I imagine many of our listeners cannot as well. So always good to have Gravy explain sort of those nuances. So here's how it works. I have a list of teammates of Danny's, former teammates, and I will name one, whether it is a Miami teammate, a Team USA teammate, a teammate during his time in Cleveland with that organization, Cincinnati, obviously with the Reds is where he spent the majority of his big league career, and the Mets as well. So I name a former teammate, and the responsibility that Danny is burdened with as a result is just sort of word vomit, right? It's I name a former teammate. You give us the first story, anecdote, interaction, first time maybe facing. Maybe you faced them when you weren't teammates. Whatever comes to mind, Danny's going to tell it. All right. So here we go. I'm pulling up my list. I had one picked out earlier that, you know what, we might do two today. We're going to do two. And here, this is a pretty well-known player that I don't think we've been over yet from your time in Cleveland. Okay. And forgive me, I'm going to pull up the stat head and see what you did against this guy face-to-face in your career. Somebody who I really, really liked as a player, and I think is like a borderline should be in the Hall of Fame. Kenny Lofton.
Yeah. Kenny, I agree with you. He should be borderline, maybe even more than borderline. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. The numbers speak for itself. But Kenny Lofton. So Kenny was probably one of the nicest superstars that I met when I got to Cleveland. When I got called up the first time in '96, like he obviously watching them and how great this team was and all the superstars that they had on this team, you just are intimidated kind of initially. But Kenny Lofton was always just so nice and just, hey, what's up, buddy? Like we'd been buddies forever. And we still are friends to this day. Like we still will keep in touch every now and then. But the biggest story I got two things from Kenny. The biggest story from Kenny is one game in 96, we were playing the Orioles, and Kenny's got like 5, 6, 7 gold gloves. I don't know how many it is. A ton of gold gloves. So the bullpen back then in Cleveland and Jacobs Field was right there in center field. So they had a behind the fence. It was like a chain link, and you could sit in like in an enclosed area. Then on top of the dugout is where we warmed up. So if nobody was warming up, a lot of us would sit there, just kind of hanging out on top, so we could just kind of enjoy the game instead of being stuck inside this little cage. We're playing Baltimore, and I'm pretty sure it was BJ Surhoff, and I think it was our man Paul Shuey pitching. So BJ Surhoff hits a ball deep center field, and it looks like it's just absolutely crushed. Well, I'm standing up top at the bullpen, and I'm seeing this ball. It's coming right at me, Daron. Like I feel like I'm going to catch it. And then completely out of nowhere, I see Kenny jump up over the fence, like of the bullpen, reaches over and grabs the ball kind of right in front of me. And on camera, you see me go, I guess, like just in awe of this play. And it's like, oh my gosh, it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It was right there in front of me. Like I had literally a front row seat of it. And we already knew how great he was, but that was just unbelievable watching that. Like if you YouTube that or Google it, whatever, Paul Shuey against BJ Surhoff or Kenny Lofton, whatever tags you got to put in there, you'll see it. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then the other Kenny Lofton story, when I got traded to Cincinnati, I always asked for Kenny. Like I'd always beg, hey, can I have some of your shoes? Because he had these fancy Nike shoes, and be like, can you send me some of your shoes? Well, he was going to send me shoes, but there was a half size too small. So it would have been just a waste for me to have them. So I never got his shoes, but we did hang out like every off season on the Nike trips. We'd play golf and just hang out, and just what a great dude, man. Just such a good dude.
All right. I have pulled your career numbers against Kenny Lofton. Oh. Tell me just like of what you remember. Do you recall a single time facing him?
Yeah, I do. I remember he tried to bunt off me one time. I don't know if it says that on StatHead.
July 14th, 2001.
In Cincinnati?
In the top of the 13th?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, he tried to bunt off me, and I got him out, right?
Yep.
Does it say bunt?
Yep. Bunt, ground out, pitcher to first base.
Yeah. That's literally the only thing I remember. The only time I know I faced him more than that, right?
Yeah, 10 more times.
What? 10
more times.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah, you're usually way spot on with the memory. You faced him a good bit.
How many? Did he have any hits off me?
He had 2.
Was he with Cleveland or with Pittsburgh at the time, or Chicago?
His hits were with Cleveland. You never faced him for Chicago. He was with Pittsburgh 4 times you faced him. I actually had forgotten he was ever a Pirate. But you were in the same division, so that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it was just 1 year he was a Pirate.
Yeah. All 4 of those appearances were 2003 that he faced.
Oh, then he probably was 4 for 4, because that year I was terrible.
No, he was 0 for 4.
What?
A line out to first base. He reached on a fielder's choice. He popped it up to the shallow outfield. And then the last time you faced Kenny Lofton, you got him swinging on a 2-2 pitch.
Oh, 1K.
Yes, that's the only strikeout, and it took 11 tries.
Okay, well, I mean,
no, still not bad, because look, His 2 hits, get this, they were consecutive. July 99, June 2000. They were grounded, like ground ball singles.
Through first base side, or does it say?
The second does not say. The first says in parentheses, ground ball to weak second base to first base. So right side of the infield.
So that was probably in between first and second, just
Yep.
in the hole, and he beat it out.
Yep. So like, you know, you got him to put it on the ground. Now that's the problem with facing Kenny Lofton.
Yeah.
He puts it on the ground. And
you want him
probably going to get it
right. You want him to put it in the air.
Yeah.
Or swing and miss. Yeah. He was a special player though, man. Like, because those days, if he got on, it changed your whole like demeanor of how you pitch to that next guy. Like you did not want to give him a chance to steal because he was gone. You know? Yeah.
He was incredible, man.
He's a movie producer now in LA.
Is he really?
Yeah. Yep. He's doing really good for himself, man.
Good.
I mean, he made a lot of money in baseball, but like he does he produces movies and plays a lot of golf.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That's me, that type of stuff fascinates.
Yeah.
The next thing that they do. That's wild.
And he was an amazing basketball player too. I think everybody knew that. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. I got one more for you.
Okay.
I know for a fact we have not talked about this guy from your time with the Reds. He has, like you, gone on to build a pretty nice living as a TV analyst. And he's with MLB Network now pretty consistently, right? He's on Intentional Talk. Ryan Dempster.
Oh, Ryan Dempster. Yeah. Yeah, he's good. He's always been one that could talk a lot. And me and Dempster were pretty tight for a couple of years and a lot of stuff we can't mention. But he might be one of the funniest dudes ever that I've ever played with. He was great at doing Chris Farley imitations.
I feel like I've seen that on TV a time or two.
Yeah. Harry Carey, he's really good at, like really, really good at. But he's a Canadian that was just, a funny dude, and just the way that he talks sometimes, his little accent. But gosh, he was such a good friend. Like he was such a loyal dude, always had my back. And that was kind of the years that I was transitioning into a starter, and he was a starter with us too. But I will tell you that one of the biggest nonsensical things that we did. So we both had these huge choppers, these huge motorcycles with the big long forks and the wheels and stuff, big fat, like giant fat tires. We had them in spring training one year, and we just decided we were going to drive them into the clubhouse and just started just letting it rip. So this is back in the old Sarasota clubhouse when we had spring training in Sarasota, Florida. And those locker rooms were just big squares. Like they weren't like all these extravagant different rooms that you walk down a hall, then you go this room, and it was just a big square with lockers. So we brought our choppers, we drove them into the middle of the locker room and just laid into our freaking throttles and smoked out the whole clubhouse with our exhaust. And it was awesome. Like everybody was like, like just almost choking to death. And it was great. It was so freaking loud. And we just turned around and just drove them right out again. And like it was nothing. And it was so funny. It was hysterical. People still talk about it to this day, about the two of us. When both of our names come up at the same time, that's what they bring up. Me and him smoking out our choppers in the clubhouse. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
we weren't very smart in those days.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what Sborz was saying. It's just like it's a long season. You're trying to find ways to have fun outside of the ordinary, the day-to-day stuff, right? Like how can we make today a little bit more interesting?
Yeah, and we did that. We definitely made it a little more interesting, especially that day with the choppers. Man, he ended up having a remarkable career because when he came up with the Marlins, he was the next up and coming stud pitcher, and got traded to us, and then he ended up going. I don't know if he went to the Cubs straight from us, but like being a starter and a reliever, closing some for them, and then Boston. Man, what a career he had. He played for a long time, but you always knew that he was going to be a guy that got into this business because he loved talking, loved just talking about baseball, talking about whatever.
Yeah. I've got it. We're over an hour at this point, but I do have a quick follow-up. This stuff, is this something that you ever thought about as a player, or did it just come up later?
So when I was in college, actually, my freshman year, we were at the College World Series, and our school radio station was there covering our games, and they decided to cover all the World Series games while they were there. WVUM, and a good buddy of mine was the voice of WVUM at that time, so he asked me to come on one of the games with him, and just do some color commentary with him, and I ended up loving it. We just started rapping about the game. I even called a pickoff play. Brooks Kieschnick was pitching for Texas at the time, and I called a pickoff.
You told this story when I brought up Kieschnick one time. As you started, I was like, where have I heard this? When have I heard this? Okay, you've even told this story on the air, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So from that day on, he would always tell me, when you're done playing, you need to get in this business. I'm like, no, I'm not doing any kind of media. I'm staying away from that. I talk to the media all the time. I'm not doing it. So then once I got out, and he's actually got a big company up in New York that he represents. He represents Alex Rodriguez. He's kind of the what do you call it? Like a fixer.
Okay.
What do you call these? He's Jay-Z's guy.
Like a manager? Like a
kind of publicist. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. The publicist. So, nice. And he ended up knowing this agent up there that was in this business, and he kind of talked me into it. And then I started doing it, and I fell in love with it. So that's how I got into it.
So it's not something that you and Dempster per se would have just been
no.
No conversation was ever had that hey, you ever think about what you're going to do when we're done with this?
No, never. But I can tell you that Aaron Boone always thought that he was going to be in this business, during games.
And then he was the Yankees manager.
Right. During games, he would do play-by-play in the dugout, or he would announce players in the Phillies old PA announcer voice, now batting, or whatever. Or he'd say, now batting, Mickey Morandini. He was always talking about the game. So we knew he was going to do it.
Yeah. That's fun stuff. Yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
All right. We have run our course at an hour and 7 minutes and change.
Right.
We took last week off. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Glad you're doing well.
Yes.
Off seasons here, I guess, right? No more.
Yes.
With no more big league games, there's no more big league analysis.
Nope. Unless somebody wants me to start talking about hockey on the air, I'm done for.
Listen. For those who have been listening since we started this thing, they know we're both hockey fans and sort of new to it later in life. I'd be down. We just take this show over to a hockey season for we'd have to get a new name and probably a new presenting sponsor, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the people at Pitch Logic are going to get into hockey at some point.
Yeah. Who knows? F5 Sports might, D1 might. I mean, there's D1 hockey too,
True.
ACC, BSB, Puck, etc.
Ooh.
That's a lot of letters right there.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's already a little bit convoluted to begin with, but that's all right. With that in mind, make sure you guys follow or like whatever the verbiage is on YouTube. Subscribe. That's what it is on YouTube. The D1 Baseball's YouTube channel. That's where you can watch this show every time usually weekly, but every time we put out an episode, just to be safe. Reminder, we're on social media, Twitter or X, as well as Instagram at ACCBSBETC. Get it? ACC Baseball, etc. Like the logo if you're watching up in the top left. Rate, review, all that fun stuff. You guys know the drill. You watch shows, you listen to shows. That's greatly appreciated. It helps out a lot. And we got some fun stuff coming up after this one. So hope you enjoyed Josh Sborz. More coming sooner than later. He's Danny Graves. I'm Daron Vaught. Until next time, you guys be well.